My name is John Passfield, and the title of this reading will be John and Mother Goose Video 5, Mother Goose Part 3. So here's my novella, John and Mother Goose, The Carnival of Tales, a picture of John and Mother Goose talking on the cover. While driving his granddaughter home from daycare, John suddenly finds himself standing in the midway of a carnival of Mother Goose fairy tales. He's greeted by Jack of Jack and Jill fame, who tells John that Mother Goose is expecting him, as she has a role for him to play. But what does Mother Goose really want? Why does she think John is a writer of detective stories? And why, when she meets John, does she greet him as a long-lost son? And for that matter, why do so many of the fairy tale characters have different stories? They want John to write for them instead of the ones in which they have lived for hundreds of years. John is not a mythical creature. He's only a human, after all. But can he save the Mother Goose Carnival? Can he solve the mystery of the vanishing fairy tales? Well, John finds himself in a dream strolling along the midway of the Mother Goose Carnival of Tales with Mother Goose herself. On every stage along the midway, nursery rhyme characters are acting out their stories. As the two of them, John and Mother Goose, stroll along the midway and stop to watch the plays, Mother Goose explains the origin of the Mother Goose Carnival of Tales and the dilemma that she now finds herself to be in. So let's pick up on this story of Mother Goose's dilemma by going to page 29. Here we are. So John and Mother Goose are strolling along the midway. A line goes through John's mind. Little boy blue, come blow your horn. The faded sign says, Little boy blue, come blow your horn. It all started with just an idea, John, Mother Goose is telling me, far, far back in the mists of ancient time. I was spending an afternoon at a country fair. I was there, John, to sell my surplus geese. After the sale, John, I decided to wander around. There was a lute player and an acrobat, each would entertain on a stage. Shade and sunshine, pleasant weather. The stage had been set up under a tree. I was standing in the audience, and I thought, all at once, of the world of the nursery rhyme. Myths are what holds the world together, John. They are written, they are told, we are acting them, John, at the level that unites all humankind. Take Jack and Jill, for instance. Who in the world has not climbed a hill, John? Set out on a quest to fetch whatever it was they set their sights on. And who in the world has not fallen down, John, broken their crown, and even worse, and not picked themselves up and climbed that hill again? Myths are stories that we tell about ourselves, John, about every human being, about every person in the world, everyone. As we share them, we are all holding hands. Why not put them, John, on stage for all to see? Two stagehands come out on stage. One shakes out a green rug, which looks like grass, and places it on one side of the stage. The other stagehand carries a frame of fence rails, which holds corn stalks, and places the frame on the other side. I had to coax John, adds Mother Goose, all these people, these mythical characters, you would say, to come out of the rhymes, out of the books and the song, and present themselves on stage. People had never seen them in person, John. They had never been able to see these characters live. Well, more and more characters came to join me. We would travel from town to town. We built the stages and sewed the tents and painted the signs. Bigger towns, larger audiences, success like I didn't dare to dream. every country around the world, John, long before airplanes or even big ships. Not a child who wouldn't come out to see nursery rhymes. Well, we go from page 30 to page 32, leaving out a number of things, but we're sticking to Mother Goose and her dilemma. A stagehand comes out on stage leading a sheep with a rope and a weight. The stagehand places the weight down on the carpet of grass, and the sheep looks out at the audience. A second stagehand comes out leading a cow with a rope and a weight. He places the weight next to the stand of corn. The cow and the sheep stand on the stage and look at the audience. Mother Goose continues. Now the crowds are smaller, John. The tents are all faded, ripped, and torn. It's getting harder to hold it together. It seems my characters come and go. They're like children, John, irresponsible children. They were spoiled in the early days, more popular than they could handle. You wouldn't believe the size of the crowds. Now they have to work for an audience. Some of them find it hard to take. Some of them get depressed at the meager size of the crowds. They just take off, John, and wander who knows where. A line goes through John's mind. He's under the haystack, fast asleep. Little boy Blue comes out on the stage. He acknowledges the smattering applause with a slight smile. He moistens his lips, and then he raises his horn, adjusts his pucker, and begins to blow on the horn. I'd rather not talk of my fears, John, Mother Goose intones. I believe in a sinister force always lurking outside the grounds, testing and probing for any weakness, a pack of wolves that watches the fold. I don't dwell upon this notion, John. I avoided it in my speech. It might affect their performance. Art is not life. It is life refined. Let them present the world as cheerful and happy and bright. But there's something in the air, John, something that doesn't like nursery rhymes, that insists on deeper stories with darker moods. Something is diminishing my tales, John, making them fewer, if you know what I mean. Killing them, John, if I force myself to be blunt. That's why I fear for the fate of the missing ones. Little boy Blue is taking his bow as to a smattering of applause as two stagehands come out to clear the stage. Mother Goose tells me that she will introduce me to Little boy Blue. So we move on to another chapter, page 47 here. John and Mother Goose continue to stroll along the midway, watching the odd play. The faded sign says, Jack be nimble, Jack be quick. I'm trying to hold it all together, John, Mother Goose is telling me. I find I sit in my tent sometimes, John, late at night, trying to make a definitive list in the light of a single candle's glow. But I tear them all up, John, crumple them in frustration long before I complete one to the end. My world is a constant conundrum, John. I should go back to raising geese. Let the mythicals fend for themselves and just walk away. But then the dawn comes, John. The sun lights up the tent. I blow out the stubby candle. The midway begins to stir, and I become my true self, Mother Goose again. These are my children. They are my family. This is my brood. I like to know where each of them huddles on a cold and rainy night. They go off sometimes in the dark, and I never know. Are they sleeping in a haymow, snuggling safely in a barn? Or are they lying and crying for me in a ditch by the side of the road? I want all of them here at the carnival, safe in my arms. A stagehand comes out on stage and places an unlit candlestick down. He turns to go, pauses, as a hand appears at the curtain and points, and then returns to the candlestick and moves it so it's closer to the center stage. The paint is fading on the marquees, John, Mother Goose sighs as we watch the play. The crowds are becoming smaller in town after town. Sometimes I ask myself if I can go on. But then I hear some childish laughter, a little girl skipping and singing a song. Ba, ba, black sheep, have you any wool? The kids are what keeps me going, John. There's kids in every town. They thrive on nursery rhymes, John. They chant them as they play. And I'm the one who's keeping it all alive. Then we go over to page 50. Again, we're skipping a number of things just to stick to Mother Goose and her problem, her dilemma. Jack comes out on stage. He carries 2 small stones, which I assume are pieces of flint. Sure enough, he rubs the 2 together to make a spark. When he does so near the wick, the candle bursts into flame. A number of people in the audience applaud. Oh, I don't worry about money, Mother Goose continues to explain. Money, when needed, can always be found. I run this carnival on a shoestring and a prayer. A sunlit day, a bare stage, that's all we need. We're characters, John, not people. We only need energy to survive, the kind of energy we get from the visitors, from people like you. As long as people keep coming out, John, when we set up our tents and have a parade, this carnival of tales will never die. Jack paces off the distance from the candlestick. He pauses as if concentrating with his back to the candlestick, and then he turns towards the candlestick and pauses again. His forehead wrinkles and his hands clench at his sides. Then he takes 2 quick strides towards the candlestick and soars into the air. And as far as these thoughts go, John, of murder, of kidnapping, or worse, adds Mother Goose, these are the darkest thoughts I allow myself to have. I keep suicide out of my mind, John. I don't allow it to be a thought. Do you think I don't know that Jack is caught in a storm? Every day I pace the midway, wondering which stage is going to be bare. Do you know, John, what it is to lose a child? Mother Goose and I both applaud as Jack bows and leaves the stage. A stagehand comes out with a snuffer and snuffs the candle out and turns to leave. But a hand appears at the curtain and points, and the stagehand turns back and picks up the candlestick and carries it off stage. So that's the last segment I'm going to read in this part 3 of the Mother Goose dilemma. Mother Goose is worried. The stages are rickety, the marquees are faded, the tents are ripped and torn. The crowds are smaller and smaller on the midway. Whoops. But that's not the biggest problem that she faces. The biggest problem that she faces is that each day when she strolls the midway, she's afraid that one more nursery rhyme will be missing. And all she and the meager crowds will see is a bare stage. And that is why she has summoned John to figure out the mystery of the missing nursery rhymes. As she tells John of her current problems, she reminisces about the history of the Carnival of Tales, how once there were larger crowds, how once the characters merely had to appear to be given accolades and thunderous applause, but how now they have to work to create a crowd. So why doesn't she just quit and go back to her home and her dozen geese? Well, says Mother Goose, it's the children for whom she's keeping the nursery rhymes alive. Now, I suppose there's 2 ways to respond to a fictional situation such as this one. Here's number 1. One would be allegorical. I suppose we could check the numbers in our society and ask whether the audience at symphony concerts is down, whether the sale of classical music is diminishing, whether the great books of the world heritage are selling at the pace at which they used to sell. So culture is in trouble, we could say. But number 2, the other way to respond to this fictional situation is to ask ourselves what is valuable in the lives of every country, in every culture, in every society, in every family, and in every individual. Whether these people go to symphony concerts, whether they listen to classical music, whether they read the great books of the world heritage, what is it that's valuable, that is always in danger of being lost? What is it that's valuable, that is always in danger of being lost? What is it that ebbs and flows, that thrives and then seems to wither, that surges and then withdraws as time goes on? So there's something valuable in every life of every individual, every group, such as a family, every society. I can't tell my readers what to think in response to the reading of my fiction, but I do hope they won't come up with one simple allegorical response to the reading of such a book as this, John and Mother Goose, and leave it at that. To me, it's a book of universal themes. It's a book about every person and every culture in the world. So this is my book, John and Mother Goose, Carnival of Tales. It's available on Amazon if you look there. It's available at my publisher's website, roxmillspress.com, where there's more information. At my website, johnpassfield.ca, there are 2 free books. You just click on the cover icon and they will appear on the screen and you can read them. One is the planning notebook that I wrote while I was planning and writing this novella. The other is the journal that I wrote while I was polishing this novella, getting it ready to send to my publishers. So have a look at johnpassfield.ca if you're interested in all the topics that a book like this seems to raise. Lastly, I'll just say thank you for watching this video.